All right, good morning, everybody. Yeah, so something always going around in Queens. So yeah, the borough president got called away last minute, so I will be chairing this meeting of our borough cabinet as the director of community boards. So first off, good morning, everybody. I want to thank our district managers and our city agency staff and our government staff for being here with us this morning. So today we are pleased to be joined by Con Ed today. Today we're going to be hearing a presentation that will offer guidance on how Queens residents can lower their energy bills and enroll in energy affordability programs. So representing Con Ed this morning, we have Daniel Jung, Senior Specialist on Customer Outreach and Education. And we also have Queens' very own Richard David, Director of Corporate Affairs at the Queens office. So Rich, Dan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Richard David. And Michael, thanks for that introduction and for the coffee and the hospitality at Borough Hall. My colleague and I, Daniel, today we're going to be talking to you about a set of programs that we have for your constituents that they can enroll in to not just lower their bills, but take more control of their bills and achieve, hopefully, greater energy efficiency coming off very, very cold months. Then we're going to talk to you about the efforts the company is making to collect on arrears that are outstanding. And you know, it's no secret, Con Ed has a rate increase that you've all seen on the news. We're going to be talking about that as well. And if you look outside, there's still some snow. We're expecting a little bit more tomorrow. We're going to continue this conversation we've had with you many times about how to be and how to alert the public about emergency prep. We're going to leave a lot of time for questions, and we look forward to hearing from you. All right?
Good morning, everyone. This is the first time I'm speaking on a mic like this, so please excuse me. I'm just trying to get, all right. So today, as Richard mentioned, my name is Daniel from Customer Outreach and Education. The first topic today that I want to touch up on is projected winter bill impacts. Now, for our projected winter bill impacts for 2024 going into 2025 is residential customers will likely see a 3.1% increase in gas heating costs this winter. Now this is from rate increase. Back in 2023, we had a rate increase, and we divide that rate increase over a couple of years. That way it doesn't impact the customers all at once. So the 3% is the final gas increase for the 2023 rate. Electric costs will also be higher, but very, very slightly, less than 1%, 0.2% to be exact. And of course, energy usage as well as weather conditions will also affect your bill. Now, what can we do about this? So, there's a couple of things. The first thing is please tell your constituents to check your benefits. If they receive government assistance, they may be eligible for our energy affordability program. I'll go a little bit more into that later on in the slide. Our customers could explore budget billing. Now this is very useful for people on fixed incomes. It doesn't work for everybody though. This is more for a customer whose summer and winter bills are high, while their spring and fall bills are lower. So basically, cooling and heating. Now those customers, rather than getting impacted by a higher summer or winter bill, what we do is we average out a year's usage, and that's the rate that we start at. Every 4 months we do an evaluation. Is this customer using more than what we expected or historically? Are they using less? And then we match the budget billing amount to that amount. Consider a payment agreement. We understand that a lot of New Yorkers are having trouble with their bills right now. The worst thing your constituents could do is not call us or make contact. Tell them to call us. If they need assistance, please let them know to give us a call. That way we could work something out with them. For residential customers, all payment agreements are interest-free. We're not tacking on any interest or anything like that. Please tell them to give us a call. That way we could work out something that works for both of us. And lastly, I do want to touch up on some clean heat and energy efficiency programs. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not at a point where being green is like, oh, that guy in the corner, you know, or with the tie-dye shirt. No, it's no longer that. Everybody needs to be more energy efficient. The rates are going up. Costs are going up. At this point, the only way to lower your bills is by curbing your energy usage habits. So please check out some different things. We have a great weather ready, which is pretty much weatherization. There's no point in blasting air conditioning or heating and have all of it seep out. If you have cold drafts in your house right now, by the windows, by the walls, all of that is just gonna make your heating bill go up and up and up. You're not keeping it in. It's like keeping a refrigerator door open, right? If you keep your refrigerator door open, what happens? Your refrigerator starts making noises, right? Because it's trying to get to that temperature. So it's gonna keep draining electricity until you match it. We have a lot of product savings on retail products, smart thermostats, smart usage rewards, and Smart Charge New York. Please visit those sites when you can, and as well as forward them to your constituents. Some other tips without programs. Conserve energy. Again, I mention it again, and I say this to all of my constituents when I go to community board meetings, civic associations. The summer's supposed to be hot. The winter's supposed to be cold. If you are in your house with a short sleeve shirt in the winter, chances are your bills are gonna skyrocket. Anything over 68 degrees Fahrenheit, anything over, each degree is 3% increase. So if you're at 80, if you're leaving your thermostat at 80, I know a lot of customers who do that, and I'm like, please lower that. Think about how much that percentage is gonna compound. So please, again, wear a shirt, wear a long sleeve shirt, wear a sweater, right? Do other things. I'm not saying freeze. Don't do that, no. And don't let your pipes freeze. I'm not saying that. But conserve. Again, winter's supposed to be cold, ladies and gentlemen, if we're in New York City. Keep areas around your heating and cooling vents clear. If you have heat blasting, but you have a couch like in the way, that totally defeats the purpose. The back of your couch is going to be very, very warm, but the rest of your house isn't. So keep the vents clear. In certain areas, like for instance, my home, my basement, I'm never there, so I keep all the vents closed in my basement so the heat could get to the areas where me and my wife are at, right? So different things like that. Keep it clean as well. A dirty appliance uses about 30% more electricity than a clean appliance. So I don't know when's the last time you cleaned the coils behind your refrigerator. I'm not telling anybody to throw out their back doing it, but if you do keep your appliances as well as your heating and cleaning units clean, that will conserve energy. Consider a cold wash. A lot of the newer washing machines does it automatically, right? Unless you specifically put in the settings that you want to do a cold wash. If not, it automatically adds the hot water. But a cold wash, you would be using less electricity than a hot wash. So that's another thing. And this is another thing. Swap out shades seasonally. Light-colored window coverings reflect the sun's energy, while darker ones absorb it and release heat. So in the summer, light sheets. In the winter, darker sheets. The next topic I want to hit up is our energy affordability program. If everybody could see the programs on the left. Now these are starting from HEAP, SNAP, SSI, direct vendor utility guarantee, which are HRA grants, temporary aid for needy families, as well as safety net assistance. These programs automatically enroll you into our energy affordability program. We do, I believe, quarterly info exchanges with OTDA as well as HRA, and we get the information so we can automatically do it. Now, this doesn't mean we should sleep on this. Your constituents should check if they have these programs and to see if they are on our energy affordability program. Money saved is money earned, right? People always ask, do you guys have any discounts? This is the discount. So please make sure they check to see if they're on any of these programs and to see if they're on our energy affordability program. Because sometimes things do fall through the cracks during our info exchanges. It's better to be safe than sorry. On the right side, these programs involve self-enrollment. A customer needs to enroll themselves. It doesn't happen automatically. The big one here is Medicaid. For medical information, it's illegal to share that. So for Medicaid, a lot of our constituents who have Medicaid are not on our energy affordability program. We want them all on our energy affordability program, so please help spread the word. The next slide is in regards to our energy share grants. So an energy share grant is a $200 per year grant. It used to be like a one-time every 5 year and then 3 year. Now it's once annually. All a customer needs to do is have made at least one good faith payment toward their bill within the last 12 months and be eligible for governmental financial assistance and or meet home energy assistance program income guidelines. If your constituents, you know they got a HEAP grant, please have them contact this information, give us a call, give us an email. That way, they could also get a energy share grant of $200 per annually. Now, I just want to quickly review again the different assistance we have for customers. There are multiple assistance programs, including HEAP. That's a federal program. Bill payment assistance, budget billing, energy affordability program. Now, this is how big the EAP program is. 180 million annually in discounts and credits to customers who are on the program. If you're not on it and you qualify, it's, again, free money that you're not taking advantage of, as well as our energy share program. And now I'll pass it over to Rich.
Thank you, Daniel. So I've emailed each of you probably at least twice to let you know that we have resumed our collection exercises. Since starts and stops during the pandemic, we haven't been regularly collecting from customers who have arrears because they've had financial difficulties or other challenges that are going on. We're now implementing an effort to collect from everyone. The reason that we're doing that is to maintain the grid, and if there are customers that don't pay, it means that it's socialized with everyone else. And we want to make sure that customers who are behind get in the habit of paying their bills again, and that's why we started off with the assistance programs that are out there. If you qualify for an assistance program, we're going to make sure that you take advantage of that. We've been communicating with customers one-on-one directly for months, years now, and the last step is to turn anyone off, but we're going to make sure that if they're engaging with us, if they're talking with us, that they get the help that's out there for them. I mentioned that we recently filed an investment plan with the state. The investment plan is for next year, 2026. It's an 11-month process that we're beginning. The investment plan allows us to maintain the most reliable electric system in the country and one of the most reliable systems in the world. To do that, we're projecting a bill increase for electric of 11.4%. and for gas, 13.3%. These are the initial proposals that we've made to the state through the Public Service Commission. Over the next 11 months, we're going to be going back and forth with the different stakeholders, and typically this amount gets lower. But that process is currently underway. The funding that's included in the investment plan is to make sure that the grid continues to be ready for winter, summer, and increasingly unpredictable climate events that are occurring here in New York City. It's also going to help a lot of customers achieve greater efficiency. It's going to invest more in affordability programs and outreach efforts. I've heard from folks that when they call our customer service line, for example, the wait times are longer. So we want to make sure that that experience improves for our customers. In addition to that, we want to make sure that we're meeting customers where they're at. A lot of customers are electrifying, a lot of customers are purchasing electric vehicles, and so that requires an investment in the grid and the modernization. We want to make sure that we're keeping up with our customers. And I mentioned affordability is our top priority. We're going to continue to focus on this, and it's a key part of our conversations with our regulators at the state. Winter prep. Thank you all for participating in our operator-assisted call last week on Friday. We had a lot of snowfall over the weekend, and we're expecting some more snowfall starting again tomorrow. When these events happen and they reach a certain threshold, the company goes into what's called an incident command structure. Our employees are working around the clock to make sure that the grid stays on and is performing. And in the event there is an outage, we're responding and restoring your service right away. And so that means right now our employees are currently in a state of emergency, and they'll remain in a state of emergency until we think that this weather event has subsided. And then hopefully they can get some rest. We encourage you to continue to participate in those operator-assisted calls. It's the best way to make sure that information is getting out there. We're also communicating directly with customers. We're issuing press releases. We do phone calls in certain cases, text messages, email blasts. Our website goes into an emergency mode with messages for customers when an event is occurring. We use social media, webinars, customer information centers, in-person assistance, and live help when you call us. Safety is our #1 priority as a company, and this is how we're communicating before an emergency occurs to make sure that New Yorkers are prepared. Despite our best efforts, not everyone knows this, so I'm going to sound like a broken record. Please go to coned.com, and if you're experiencing an outage, if you need to report a service problem, if you want to see where there in real time where there's any outage in your neighborhood or across our service territory, you can do that in next to real time at www.coned.com/outage-map. It's also important to call in an outage. You have to let us know if you have an outage. Our smart meters do detect and let us know as well, but we want to make sure that we're hearing from you, and that's another way to make sure that our teams are responding to an emergency that might be there. This is an example of the outage map. And we're happy to take any questions you might have for Daniel and I.
Any questions from the community boards?
The outage map, it's live and active, so when something goes out, you can go on immediately in real time and see it?
It's next to real time. It's about 10 to 15 minutes, but you'll be able to see an outage once it's reported on there. In addition to that, we provide an estimated restoration time for the outages, so we encourage folks to check it because you'll get next to real time updates if you're worried about your mom or your neighbor or somebody else that you care about. If they're a Con Ed customer, you'll be able to see it there.
Okay, so if somebody has an outage and they don't have access to their computer, and maybe they don't have their cell phone handy, whatever the case may be, is there a possibility they can call the 1-800 number? Because obviously there's an outage.
Yeah, we maintain all opportunities and methods, rather, to communicate with us. 1-800-752-CON-ED will be active, and you can continue to use that.
Thank you very much.
It's 752-6633.
6633.
Yeah. Any additional questions from the community board?
Good morning. Just my regular question. Will there be a possibility of having discounts for senior citizens? They are your long-serving customers, so I think that they're entitled to a small discount at some point, particularly those over 80 years old. Something for you to consider.
Yes, so our discounts are tied towards governmental assistance programs. So if the senior citizens are also on any other programs, then yes, absolutely. HEAP is a great one for senior citizens because one of their qualifying aspects is age. So yeah, and SSI is not regular Social Security, it's supplemental security income. So if they receive that, then they also do qualify. But not just age. It's not just senior citizen. It has to be tied in with a governmental assistance program.
We do have a special hotline for seniors. Who they can call us and get more speedy assistance. It's a dedicated phone number. We'll make sure that you have that. In addition, over 400,000 people in New York City received a discount on their bill last year. So it's not a small number. We're making every effort to lower the cost and make our energy more affordable. And you mentioned seniors, and this actually applies to a lot of age groups. We're noticing an increase in scams, and they're typically targeted at older adults, but it's not exclusive. It's actually, anyone. We want to make sure that our customers continue to be scam-proof, and we're doing a lot of education. We have materials on our website. I can't continue to exaggerate how serious this problem is, and a lot of seniors, a lot of folks are getting scammed through this method by Zelle and other payment programs. And so please make sure that if someone shows up at your door, ask for an ID. It's a blue ID card. If it's a contractor, it'll be red. You can call us and verify if we have an employee at your door before you let anyone in. We don't accept cash payments and all of these things. So if something sounds unusual, call us. Please call us, live chat with us online. We want to make sure that we're available to customers if they believe that there's a potential scam underway.
Do you take Zelle? No.
We do not take Zelle.
Okay, any following questions? Gary.
Community Board 5. Thank you. So you're talking about an 11% increase for electric and 13 point something for gas. When's it going to go into effect, and what will the increase be in future years?
The current proposal that we have before the Public Service Commission is for 2026, and the rates are being discussed. And so we don't know what the actual amount is going to be. Right now, the proposal is just for 2026, and we don't have a proposal as yet for future years. In some cases, the proposal can be extended for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, but those are all parts of the conversations that are occurring right now.
Yeah, we have Ms. Reddick.
Thank you. My concern in my district is regarding the disconnect, which started Now, and I think I asked this question before, because of COVID, and why wait so long before the disconnect?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Reddick. And just for everyone, the question is, why do we wait so long to start disconnecting folks who haven't been paying their bills? We're a publicly regulated utility. We follow a lot of the rules that are imposed on us by our state regulators. In addition to that, we have been making sincere efforts to help folks get up to speed. And some of the long-term impacts of COVID are still being felt. But certainly we've heard that before, that we should have started sooner.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. So I want to thank Rich and Daniel for their information and taking on our questions. We appreciate the efforts at Con Ed, and affordability and keeping the lights on is paramount to our office here. So we look forward to continuing the conversation and partnerships post-meeting. But with that, we'll be pivoting over to the New York City Housing Authority, NYCHA. So with NYCHA, we will be hearing a presentation on how NYCHA tenants can get help with heating management services and other winter-related issues. Representing NYCHA this morning, we have Mirella Lore, Government Affairs Associate at the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. She is also joined by Leroy Williams and Ashley Myers. So, Mirella, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So, good morning. As the low man on the totem pole, Keith Grossman, Executive Vice President of Operations Support Services for NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. No, it's all right, man. I've been called worse. Forgotten is okay. It's okay. So, thank you for having us. I know microphones are for somebody probably watching somewhere else, right? Okay, I have to leave it on. All right. I hate using them. So I always like to ask that question up front. So I'm Keith Grossman. I'm the Executive Vice President of Operations Support Services. I oversee heating, elevators, waste management, pest management, and emergency services, as well as our staff development. I was going to tell somebody to go to the next slide. It's on me. So as you know, we were all outside this morning. We're in heating season. It's October 1st through May 31st. This is the city regulation up here. We make sure we communicate this and remind our residents every year through press release and flyering and robocalls and get this information out there. But this is not only the city regulation, but this is what we're required to do under the HUD agreement of 2019. 68 degrees during the day, 62 degrees overnight, and 120 degrees of hot water year round. This is our heating department. I know the budget number may seem like a lot, but our boilers are 26 years old. The average useful life expectancy of a boiler is about 25. That our average age is already exceeding that. We have 917 boilers, 1,757 pieces of distribution equipment, right? That's like circulating pumps and steam distribution fans and stuff like that. And then 1,571 different pieces of hot water equipment. And that number, as we decouple to create redundancy, keeps going up. But so we're essentially responsible for, 700 people are responsible for maintaining over 4,000 pieces of heating equipment every year. On the bottom left, as you can see, we have 13 mobile boilers. We have some that are current. These are available for deployment. There are some that are currently deployed at properties. You may see them, for example, I'm thinking of a Queens property, Ravenswood, right? Has a boiler replacement project ongoing. So while we replace the internal plant and dismantle that, there is a mobile boiler there to provide the service. And that's being done through a capital construction project. A number of years ago, we made a little bit of a shift in how we did things. NYCHA generally did this across our properties, moving into into what we call the neighborhood model, right, which is bringing resources closer to the properties that they serve. Excuse me. Sorry. So it's essentially we pushed everything out from the central office to the properties. What was happening previously is a lot of our supervisors would have, 12 properties or developments to oversee, and these, moving into the smaller management and supervisory role, supervisory oversight, allows them to oversee only 5, which allows our supervisors to spend more time in boiler rooms. It allows our supervisors to move staff around and be more directly involved. So if we're having an issue at one of their, 5 locations, they can pull from one of the other 4 and kind of move staff around. It gives them that freedom to better support and respond. Moving forward. So the important stuff. How are we doing, right? So we are down. This is citywide, and then I'll get specifically into Queens and kind of talk about that. But citywide, we're down 62 outages from the same time in heating season last year. 62 heating outages, 128 total outages. Our average is the same at about 7 hours. Actually, in Queens, we're doing about 30 minutes better than the rest of the city. At 7, God bless. So it's 7.5 hours. The system that does our reporting rounds up to 8, but at 7.5, and in Queens we're doing it at 7.1 hours to restore heat. Like I said, our outages are generally down. We want to live at 0, but if we're going to have an outage under 12 hours, is where we have to be per the agreement, and that's, as you can see, the only increase is below that time. We're also not. Obviously we shouldn't be doing this anyway, but per the agreement, no outages over 48 hours. That hasn't happened in a couple of years. And we're keeping those outages to a minimum wherever possible. BMS, I think our friends in Con Ed were kind of referring to some of the energy efficiencies, right? So if anybody lives in an apartment in New York City, right, used to that apartment heat, it's just constant and it's coming up, or at least that's the way it used to be. What the building management system that we installed does is it essentially regulates that heat to a more comfortable or more appropriate 72 to 74 degrees, right? We can adjust that as needed, right? We can adjust that set point as needed, but for example, if there's a building with senior citizens, we can bring that up a little bit. They like it a little bit warmer, but not too much, right? We don't want to really roast anybody, right? It can get very hot in in some apartments, right? Generally, and that'll drop overnight. And these are just the properties that have the BMS installed currently, for your awareness. So a lot of what happens after is this is an education. So we're used to this like constant barrage of heat, and when you hear it, or you don't feel the pipes as warm as they were, and completely understandably, our residents often say, "Oh, the heat's off," right? So that first year, what'll happen is we'll see a lot of additional complaints. The heat turned off, but we'll go to visit an apartment and it's like, but you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, right? So, but yeah, it's not coming up the pipes, but that's the education. That's the education that we do for those residents, right? So we'll go out to as many meetings as we can. We'll meet with everybody, right? Typically, it kind of comes to a boiling point, and My staff will go out to meetings and explain and show them and visit apartments and handle tickets, but that's really an education thing and a learning experience for our residents. But in the long run, we don't have excessive heat complaints, right? And it's really well regulated. So this is our performance by kind of, I put it by worst performers. There's not really any real tough issues. The biggest issue that we have right now as far as boiler plants is concerned is Ravenswood. And that's because it's under replacement, right? Mobile boilers are always going to be less reliable than an internal boiler plant, right? It's exposed to cold constantly. And while it is a great resource and it helps us provide the service, it's still not a permanent structure, and there's a reason why they're temporary. The other nickname for a mobile boiler is a temporary boiler, right? So because of that, we're seeing a lot of, they have a tendency to have more downtime for the exposure to the elements. Other than that, though, heating outages, again, significantly down from where they were. We do a lot of investment in our kind of worst performing sites, right? So Ravenswood right now in Queens is our worst performing site. We're actually replacing the boilers. South Jamaica had an issue related to a fire that damaged some of our equipment. So as the fire was not related to the heating system. It was in the vicinity of the heating system, just to be clear. And as we approach the summer, right, we don't want to take it offline for a long period of time. But what we will do is when the summer comes, we'll make a larger investment in that heating system and the distribution lines that suffered some damage. So we made a temp repair leading into the heating season, and we'll make that permanent repair over the summer. Okay, and that's kind of how we do our investments, right? As the heating season goes on, we let these numbers drive us to where we invest what is limited funding. All right, and that I use that slide as a segue into this one, which is it's impossible, right? Heating season goes from October 1st to May 31st. It is impossible for, I know you saw the number of 713 people. Not all 713 of those people work on the boilers themselves. Some manage the fuel support, the fuel supply, right? Our heating oil for our mobile boilers. Some manage the mobile boilers. Some manage other things. Some manage our data so that we can ensure that we're putting the right information out there in the world. So what it comes down to is about 529 people who physically work on boilers. It's impossible to do real, true preventative maintenance on those 4,000 pieces of equipment with that many people in that period of time, right? From May 31st to October 1st every year. And, allow us to have a little break to do some testing before the season starts. So we actually start now. Not right now. This year, we're going to start a little bit later because of the snow. But if we have a mild day in February, we'll do some hot water maintenance. If a boiler comes offline for a repair during the heating season, we'll do the preventative maintenance during the heating season, right? We have some redundancies built in, right? You have a boiler plant with 8 boilers. You only need 7 to provide heat. If one's down, we'll do the maintenance on that now, make sure that all of the, any worn rotors or, any dry pieces that need to be lubricated will be handled during that time. So we start now. Hot water generators are our oldest piece of hot water generating equipment. We start those in March, and we start those early because repairs take longer. So if there is a major repair needed, the material for those, because they're so old, is a long lead time. It actually has to be built for us. It has to be manufactured. So we'll start doing those early to try to tag some issues earlier on in the season, order the material and make a full repair over the summer. And then when our boilers start coming offline, or in May when it gets a little warm, and we have a downtime where boilers don't have to provide heat, we'll start doing more maintenance there, and we'll start taking more boilers offline at that point. And then by June, we finish 100% of our hot water. We also then finish 100% of our boiler, and then allows us to focus on heating and distribution. We'll finish that by September, and then everything's heat ready by October 1st. Now, heat ready there is a calculation in every boiler room, and if anybody is planning to ask me what that is, what that means for a specific location, I will have to get back to you. But there's a certain number of boilers that have to be online, or a certain number of horsepower, or a certain number of a certain pressure level that has to be available to provide heat to the property. It's, you know, from the design and the filing. That doesn't mean that all the boilers have to be ready to go. Like I said, that's impossible. There is some redundancy built in. What heat readiness means is all the pieces of equipment needed to provide heat at 32 degrees on October 1st are ready to go. So if there are 8 boilers, we need 6 to provide heat when there's 32 degrees outside. When it is 32 degrees outside, we will have 100% of those assets ready to go on October 1st. Should it be 32 degrees? If it was, we have a bigger problem, I think, on our hands. But we're ready to do that on October 1st. That is our goal every year, and really we haven't missed it since I've been here for the last 3 years. So that was it on heat, right? That's all you know.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Leroy Williams, and I'm the Vice President of Resident Services for NYCHA. My overarching department is called Resident Services, Partnerships, and Initiatives. Our main goals is to connect residents to economic opportunities, health, and social services. We attract resources and partnerships to improve outcomes and quality of life for residents. We restore household stability and wellness by leveraging external resources. Engage resident leadership through development, stewardship, and capacity building, and support NYCHA residents, partnerships, and other departments to improve service delivery. So, talking about heating, of course, we all know that each of our properties have resident associations. Actually, it's 21 developments, and we actually have an active 20 of them. So it's just one development in Queens that does not have a resident association, and that's Levitt House. And we're actually working on hopefully getting some residents to volunteer for that and get a resident association started at that particular development. Resident participation and civic engagement, you probably haven't heard of that wording. It's basically the resident engagement arm of NYCHA. We're the ones that speak to the resident associations all the time to find out what's going on in the developments, link people to departments in NYCHA depending on what the ask is. We conduct the resident association elections at least every 3 years. We help them in a vast array of having events, funding from HUD, anything that the residents think to improve the life and the quality of life for residents, we work with our residents on. So we have 5 key areas that we work with, and I mentioned before. We conduct the resident association elections. We engage resident groups. We have a RAB, which is our resident advisory board. We meet with them during the springtime to come up with NYCHA's annual plan. We have a citywide council of presidents. All of the resident associations are, all of the resident associations belong to a citywide group called CCOP, which is a citywide council of presidents. Queens has 2 districts, Queens North and Queens South. So we have 2 district chairs. The persons from South Jamaica, Mr. Martinez, and also from Promenade Houses is the 2 chairs that oversee all of the resident associations in Queens. And the CCOP is the citywide district that oversees all of the resident associations citywide. So we support NYCHA initiatives and projects. Again, today we're supporting heating, but whatever it is that, again, we have green infrastructure, we have, capital projects, whatever it is that's happening in the particular development, my staff is, the go-to to make sure that residents know what's going on, giving live updates. Queens has, as you talked about, the neighborhood model. Queens has 3 neighborhood service coordinators. They have about 8 to 9 developments that they oversee, and their job, again, is to make sure they know the pulse of the community. They're speaking to the residents, bringing projects and programs to them that is going to help them. Each resident association receives federal funding from HUD at $15 per dwelling unit. It's called TPA funding. I'm not sure if anybody's ever heard of it, but that money is for them to work on programs, trainings, have events throughout the year. And then we implement programs. So again, we meet with our resident associations to find out what's the need of the community, and then we might connect them to a group that helps with job readiness, or if they're having issues, if it's a senior center and they want to know more about, what kind of things for health they can get. So whatever it is that's needed for that particular development, we work with the resident associations and resident overall to bring that information to them. And that's.
And this is not in the presentation. This is kind of like a standard form that we use. But as we're entering into another cold snap, just while we're all sitting here so you understand. So we take certain preparations to get to that. So we'll add additional staff. We'll add additional skilled trades, right? We'll move our skilled trades into a 24-hour schedule to ensure we have plumbers overnight, right? The largest problem that we have with our heating systems is our distribution, right? We may get a new boiler, but the pipes are still. We're putting a new engine into a '57 Chevy, right? So that's kind of what's going on there. So because of that, we have distribution issues. So we ramp up to prepare for those. We move some of our troubleshooters, some of our emergency response teams into a 24-hour posture, and allow round-the-clock coverage for heating services. So we are starting that today. As of this morning, they went into 12-hour. Thank you. They went into 12-hour shifts to prepare for upcoming snow, and then actually after that, right into a nice cold snap for the holiday weekend.
I do want to, add one thing. So for a winter emergency, like we're getting ready for that, today into tomorrow, we do work to make sure that we do a lot of the posting and communications for residents when we have these type of winter emergencies. So as of yesterday, we started communicating via robocalls, emails, sending out flyers to the properties to make sure that we're posting throughout the development, to make sure people are aware of the winter emergencies. We talk to the resident associations to see if there's anything that we can help with during that time. So again, when our support services reacts to a particular thing, our job is to react with the residents to make sure that we're the point, if they have any issues and concerns throughout the duration of the emergency, to make sure we have the ears to the ground and make sure we're helping our residents the best way we can.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, great. Questions from the CB? I see Florence.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm the district manager for Astoria, Queens. I have Astoria houses, Ravenswood, Queens North, Queens South, and Woodside houses. I wish you guys would have broken it up to 2 separate segments so we could ask about the heating first and then go into the TA stuff. So I'm going to do it a little bit backwards. Please bear with me. What you said HUD, $15 per unit for TPA. What does the abbreviation TPA mean? I've never heard of that.
Tenant participation activity funding.
Tenant participation.
Activity funding.
And who gets those funds? Do the Tenants Association presidents get those funds to utilize them for the benefit of the community?
That is correct. So it's funneled through NYCHA. Each year they receive an allocation, again, depending on how many dwelling units that have someone in it. So if it's an empty dwelling unit, of course, they don't get that funding.
Understood.
And then they would submit a budget for the year, putting in different types of activities, different types of trainings, whatever it is that they feel. Of course, there's parameters behind the funding, but we work with them to make sure that the money is spent in the best way possible for those particular developments.
Very interesting. It's the first time I've heard about that. 'Cause, 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 You're Leroy, right? You're Leroy? Sir, I can't find your name in my notes.
Keith Grossman.
Keith Grossman, right?
That's me.
Hi.
Hi.
So, over the years, there have been a lot of different issues in Astoria, Long Island City. For example, a couple of years ago, we had a problem with the temporary boilers over at Woodside Houses. And all it was NYCHA didn't fill out the paperwork. It just so happened that the commissioner of the Department of Buildings was a former community board member. I called the commissioner of the Department of Buildings, and I said, listen, there's a big there's a conference going on. The boilers aren't working. There's no heat. What's happening? And all it was paperwork. We as district managers don't have anybody at NYCHA to connect with when these kinds of things happen. So, for example, you're talking about Ravenswood and these temporary. I am, with my finger on the pulse of my community, I had no idea that there were temporary boilers there. We're not notified. We're not told about this. Right now, my biggest problem, as far as I know, is the gas over at Astoria Houses. There are like 5 buildings which have been having on and off gas issues. I've connected Con Edison with the TA presidents, and I've done work with that, but I don't have anybody at NYCHA saying to my office, this is a problem. Yeah, but is this temporary? Am I going to get a number? Am I really going to be able to reach you? Think about it. I have the biggest in the world, Queensbridge North and Queensbridge South, Astoria Houses, Woodside Houses, Ravenswood. And I could tell you stories about, compactors, elevators, issues, and I always end up bouncing it back to the TA president. But we should be in communication, because I'm not looking to call you out. I'm looking to receive your help when I get calls, because essentially we sitting here on this side of the table get blamed for everything. So it would be great if we
Not
had-
everything. We get blamed for a lot too.
I
Just
don't
to
know.
be, yeah.
We get it blamed
No,
first.
I know. I understand. And look, I appreciate where you're coming from. Absolutely. So Morella's
No,
here.
this is for help.
Yeah. No, and we're here to provide help. So I just want to be clear, my role at NYCHA is there are 3 departments that are on duty 24/7 to serve our residents with whatever they need 24/7. I oversee all 3 of them. That's why I look like this, because I never sleep. My phone's always going off, and my teams are always working.
I
I'm just
understand.
blaming it on that, but it's just genetics. But so I hear you. I am with you. The mobile. I apologize for that lack of transparency, as it may seem. I mean, they're literally sitting outside the building. But we're happy to have a follow-up discussion with you on that.
Yeah, it's great.
Again, this was, I hope that you're hearing less, right? Because as you heard from Leroy, and as I'm about to say, we do a lot of resident engagement. The old way of just kind of informing after the fact is not the way we do things anymore. Our capital team has actually built out a whole team that does engagement and lets the resident association presidents know. As far as the Astoria Houses piece, all the mobile boilers have been removed. That plant is back online,
What about the
and
gas
as
situation?
a result of that, we were able to start restoring gas to some of the buildings. So the big building that had the largest issue was Building 7, which was the boiler building. To my knowledge, that's been restored, and we haven't had any issues there. And we're continuing to work on the others. It's a very stringent process. If we could do it in a day, we would do it in a day. But it takes every resident to be home. We have to check every connection. Con Ed then has to come, say that it's good, do a pressure test. If the pressure test passes, then we can turn it back on. If it fails, and DOB as well. Sorry, not to just point out to Con Ed. They're a great partner on this, but we have to go through
They are
a
great.
significant. They're a tremendous partner on restoration of service to NYCHA especially. And so we have to go through these really painstaking steps because we don't want to have another building explode from a gas explosion, right? And we take that our resident safety is obviously our #1 priority, so we keep doing that. And as far as the Woodside issue, that was another thing. So as I alluded to when I was speaking, we take a look at where these tickets are, right? Resident complaints matter. That's actually the primary driver of where we spend money. So I want to just say the CCC. Did we put the CCC number in there somewhere? Okay, so it's 718-707-7771.
Just ask it again,
I'm going to say it again, 718-707-7771. There's also the My NYCHA app. I know for seniors that may be a little bit tough, but always call that number and put in a ticket. So that high ticket count at Woodside, for example, sorry, Leroy, I keep my hand, it's the Italian half, it just keeps, I gotta, so those tickets drive us to not only invest, but actually in real time respond. So every 15 minutes, we get an update. The system refreshes itself for ticket count every 15 minutes. So if it goes from 0 tickets to 15 tickets, that's a spike, and it initiates a response from our heat desk, which is monitored 24/7, and we have roving teams on, right? So if we see like an immediate spike, we're like, team goes every 2 hours. For oversight of that, I get an automated report of what ticket count is by development, so I can see where there's a problem. And honestly, if something flags to me, I'll follow up just like, hey guys, you make sure you saw this, right? So there's an on-duty manager, and if it gets to the point where I'm the one going, hey guys, did you see this? We have a bigger problem. I don't have to do that anymore, which is great. Our teams are very responsive to that. So our residents do drive how we respond. And like I said, I'll reiterate again, 718-707-7771. That ticket count drives us to the location.
I want to bring something up. I had mentioned this to the TA presidents, and I think it's a really useful idea for NYCHA. In the, excuse me, I'm sorry. In all of the lobbies, there should be smart screens with just specifically NYCHA-related incidents and information constantly circulating all day long. So for the elders who aren't tech savvy, who still have the flip phones, and for people in the building, when they're walking in the building, they can turn their head, look, and see what's going on and give real updates. Also, the TA presidents could use those smart screens for announcements, like when a park across the street from a development is being repaired or Con Ed is doing work. It's something that you should take back and really work with the administration to see, whether you get councilmatic funding, borough president funding, whatever the case may be. But these screens would help the tenants, because look at the number of people in the housing that are there. You have thousands and thousands of people, and messages are still not getting out in 2025. So I think it's a simple way to close a gap.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I appreciate that. I think I know we had piloted. Thank you. We had piloted that. Polo? We definitely did Polo Grounds. Yeah. We did it somewhere else too. I know we did it at Polo Grounds. So, but we did it at Polo Grounds. We had a couple of issues. So it's the initial funding investment is really helpful to get something like that started. It's actually the long term. That equipment took a very severe downturn very rapidly. There was some vandalism issues. There were some just IT infrastructure issues that we have to upgrade. So the actual equipment itself is like a grade up front. We're always happy to improve on how we do resident communication. That's just something that takes, so when we have to maintain something like that, it actually takes money away from some of the other things we do, right? Because there's only a limited pool of funds. We only get so much rent subsidy, right, and so much support. So we're happy to look at other ways, better ways, being out there in the community. I think, for me personally, I still like to pick up the phone and call somebody. So I think, us having a presence at residence. So, on the way in, we were on the way up the elevator, Leroy and I were just talking about all the resident meetings that we have to attend tonight, right? So I have staff at almost every location, and we rotate around as much as possible. And what's nice about it is moving into this neighborhood model, we really have somebody assigned to that. We have, somebody who's probably going to be able to get to every resident association meeting because they rotate on different days. So it is we're trying to do a lot more of this, right? Because I think We got away from that in COVID, and I don't think that was really helpful. I do think it's nice to be able to, if you're upset, to be able to express that to somebody. Or if you're not upset, to be able to express that too. It's more than if you're upset, but I know where I'm going tonight. It will probably not be that way, but that's okay. We're there. I think we're really trying to change. We're really trying. We talk about the public housing trust and all that. I don't want to get into that, but it's really the other trust, right? Building that trust back with our residents and being accountable. So it's part of the reason why we're here to work with you all. I mean, you tell us there's a problem, we respond to that problem. It may not be instantaneous. We have to triage a little bit, but we will, right? We will get there and we will handle it. I was actually, why I kept looking down my phone, I was dealing with an escalation from a resident association president. It didn't happen to be in Queens, but we were dealing with that too. I wanted to make sure that we had staff there, we were following up, we had the mechanics, right? So there's 200 and something properties that we have to address on a daily basis. So whenever you give us that information, we're going to respond to it.
It would be great if we all could have a network of phone numbers. I'm sorry. It would be great if all the district managers would have a network of phone numbers.
Morella just gave me the thumbs up.
All
We're
right,
going to
and
follow
I'm going
up
to
on that.
ask
Absolutely.
Lawrence so we can move on, but I want to say,
Twice.
if y'all don't know Brian Honan, you should know Brian Honan by now. I've known him for 20 years. We also, what I'm going to advise the staff to do is I think we do like quarterly check-ins with the TAs in NYCHA. The DMs and the community board chairs should be invited to be a part of that because we get a lot of information. And I think out of one of those calls, for instance, the last one we had in December, Bland houses was an issue. Where are we at with Bland, by the way? Did we fix all the things?
Zero problems since we left there, sir.
Good.
Not one. So that day, I don't know if you, as you were taking off, our staff kind of filled in behind us. I think the special teams heating truck took your
Okay.
spot when you
Oh,
pulled
really?
away.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And we were out there on New Year's Eve.
yeah, right.
Well, no, not New Year's Eve,
Christmas
Christmas Eve.
Christmas
Right,
Eve. Yeah,
Christmas
so
Eve.
we did a full run through. There was actually a balancing issue. It turned out to be like a simple thing that we were able to fix fairly quickly. And then there was a couple of small little repairs that we had to make at the request of the TA, and we were happy to do so.
And then for South Jamaica, where are we at on CCTVs? We fully funded the cameras. Do we have an update on that?
We will follow up with you.
All
on
right,
that.
so if you can get us a status on that as well. In the senior center, I think.
Yeah, we've been working steadily with Manny on that, so we'll get you an update.
Thank you. South Jamaica Houses is in 12 District.
Yep.
I don't see Baisley.
That's because there haven't been any
So
outages.
everything is good?
There hasn't been any outages there. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes. I'm sorry. I felt like I was defending myself. No, it is. Yeah, they are real. It is good. Yeah. There's no outages there. There hasn't been. We've had tickets there, but not a heavy ticket count. So it's actually been a pretty good season there.
Thank you.
I just want to raise in South Jamaica, just
Yes,
going back
yes, sir.
to the constant, and this came up in a meeting we did yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
vandalism and break-ins in the basement doors. So what are we doing on the locks there?
So we've been doing a lot of engagement with Manny and Mr. Martinez, the TA, of course, and NYPD. So we actually, our technical services team did a walkthrough with him to establish, how we're going to secure the basements and get access to those areas and some of the motor rooms, the elevator motor rooms, which is where we're having a lot of, homelessness issues. So we work through. They're starting to change out lock sets and secure those spaces. And then again, like to your point, we've been working on getting the cameras, making sure that everything's up and running. And actually, I was there maybe a couple of weeks ago. I might have been a little bit longer, but anyway, the CCTV vendor was there actively working, which has, if they're there working, it's a step in the right direction. We're making progress. Anybody else? Any other questions for me while I'm sitting here?
Yeah. Any further questions from the community boards?
Hi, everyone. This is Mohammed Siddiq from Borough Engineers. We are looking for floor plans of Baisley Park housing projects. Do you have that?
Yeah, we could find, but for what purpose? I just,
No, actually, we're doing one kind of research work with the academic institutes. This multi-use housing projects to transform with multifamily houses. It's
Okay.
kind of a research work.
I'm sure we do, and if you can send something over to Morel, we can look and see how we're able to share those. If we are able to, we will.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, any further questions? Last call. Okay, seeing none, so thank you, Keith, thank you, Leroy, for the presentation, and just thank you to the whole NYCHA team. We greatly appreciate your work and efforts. With NYCHA concluding, are there any other city agencies present that wish to give an update? Okay, seeing none, so I want to thank everyone for, we have Manny Evans from DOT.
Scooters or buses? I'll let you guys know right now. Just give
Good
me
ear.
1 sec. So I just want to give some preliminary announcements. Just going to read off some bullet points, so give me one moment. We just had a DOT art event, which the commissioner was proud to sponsor, which had organizations and artists meet up for public art infrastructure, which DOT is making some investments in, and trying to essentially beautify neighborhoods and spaces that are DOT city right away. Just going to read off some bullet points for that. There is an RFP that just got released, and we are asking for partners / organizations such as bids, non-for-profits, art galleries, artists in residence programs, museums, cultural institutions, community centers, and others to submit their proposals for things like murals, projections, sculptures, other art installations that they will install in the public right-of-way. Please note, partner organizations are responsible for funding approved projects. And then I'll read something that I have for update on speed cameras as well. So just going to read off the bullet points here. So at locations with cameras that were 95% reduction in speeding, those locations usually our speed cameras are rotating because of that use. So if the cameras are performing, that means that they're likely will be rotated to areas that of need, that are areas that are you're seeing an increase in speeding. So then cameras will be moved there. There's also the speed camera program is set to expire this year, and we'll be looking with our partners at the state level to look for reauthorization for these life-saving tools. Camera locations have also seen reductions in traffic deaths and injuries. Looking at 2002 data, locations with cameras installed saw 14% fewer injuries and deaths compared to locations without cameras. Those are the updates that I have for you all, and thank you.
All right, thanks, Manny. Any questions from the CB? Okay, any other city agencies? I see Marco from DOF.
Hi, I just have a quick announcement from the Department of Finance. Everybody should have received their NOPVs by this point. So we are extending business hours here at the Queens Business Center. So basically every Thursday from February 13th to March 13th, there'll be extended hours from 6 to 8 p.m. at the 144-06 94th Street, 94th Avenue, Jamaica, the Queens Business Center, to help anybody file for any homeowner exemptions or if they need any assistance. So I have flyers here to give to everybody with key dates for deadlines. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Any questions? I see Giovanna, CV3. Okay, any other city agencies present with updates? Oh, I see Ari from DDC.
Good morning, everyone. I brought the statistics. DDC continues to build New York City. Here in Queens, we have 111 total projects active, including 37 in construction, 45 in design, 17 initiation, and 12 in procurement. And broken down by category, that's 47 infrastructure projects and 64 public buildings. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ari. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Last call, any city agencies with any updates? Okay, seeing none. So thank you, everybody, for attending today's Borough Cabinet meeting. I want to thank our city agencies and our district managers. Our next Borough Cabinet meeting will be Tuesday, March 4th. So thank you, everybody. Hope to see you there, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.